Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. Welcome to part 2 of working on my mini bonsai. Today I'm going to start by pruning up my Dwarf Hinoki Cypress. Here is a look at the tree. You can see the moss has grown really well. So that'll have to be stripped off so I can see what's going on with the trunk and the root base and the soil. The top of the tree is much more vigorous than the lower parts of the tree. So I'll be pruning back the top a little harder than the bottom to encourage even growth throughout the whole tree. I'll also be pruning all this new growth to improve the structure of the tree. Let's start down below, removing the moss. I'll pull all the old moss off with the tweezers. You can see how thick it is. You can keep this moss on if you keep it pruned. I just didn't get time to prune it back regularly to keep the moss short, so it's kind of grown thick. So in this case it's better to start all over with a new covering of moss that will just grow in naturally. So I'll remove the moss from the base of the trunk also. So you can see there's quite a flare at the base of the tree, and there's a lot of roots that have grown up into the moss covering. I don't think I'll need to repot the tree at this time. I think it can go for another year in this pot and this soil. And I'll root prune it probably the next spring. So that's got the base of the tree cleaned up. Next I'll tackle all those roots that are growing up from the tree into the moss. So I'll peel away the remains of the moss layer, and I may need to re-top dress this tree with some sand. You can see how the moss is left behind kind of a muck layer. Okay, that's looking good. Next I'll do a little root pruning just to get these roots back within the confines of the pot. Keeping them, they're nice fine surface roots. The root base on this tree is a little bit odd. It's kind of thick and bulbous, but sometimes it is what it is. All you can do is try and improve it or hide it. Those are your two options. And in this case, I'll try and improve it, slowly over the years. And so I don't know if this is a grafted tree or a cutting that's swollen up at the base. I'm not sure what causes the difference between the trunk here and the root base, why it suddenly goes thick here. But if it's natural, well, it'll improve with age. If it's a graft and this is growing quicker than the top, then it'll probably get worse with age, in which case you can kind of put some landscape around it, some moss or rocks, to kind of minimize that transitional area. I'll add some fresh sand to the surface of the soil, dressing it up a bit, evening out the surface layer so it looks a little more miniature. Oh, I hear sirens in the background. That can only mean one thing: the zombie apocalypse. One of these days it'll be coming. I've seen the movies. I know what happens. Okay, I'll give it a watering to settle that layer of sand in. So here I go with the misting bottle. And I'll clean the pot up a bit. That's looking much better. Here is a look at the tree now. So next I'm going to prune up the tree. All right, I'm having a look at the tree. So there's a lot of good stuff happening on it. I've got a branch here that's kind of a bit strange. The one comes out the front and it's kind of in the inside of the curve here. I think the tree would look better without it. So I'm going to start by removing that branch. So here I go, taking it off right at the base, like that. Yeah, I like that better. It shows the curvature on the trunk there a little better. I'll try and prune that nice and flush. Like that, that looks good. Okay, now I'm stepping back, looking at the tree and looking for the next significant thing that bothers me. On this branch here, there's a bit of upwards growth. I'm going to prune that off, or at least back, I think. Also on here, I have some upwards growth. And at the tip here. Like that. That'll brown a little those cut points, but I think getting it growing in the right direction is more important than a bit of browning. I'm just trying to get in there to clean this up. These trees are so small. Okay, so that's improved that branch. Next, I have this branch here, and it's a little crowded in this area. I've got this branch, I've got another one, and another one, and they all kind of grow like a ladder. You know, steps of a ladder going up. I need to thin that out, and I have to pick which one. I'm thinking, even though it's a well-developed branch, this bottom one, I like the growth coming out the front. And this branch, even though it goes up a bit, I think it needs something in that area. But I think this one is redundant. It's growing right above the one below it. So this branch below will get weaker, this will get stronger. And if I prune off the bottom one, I have too many branches growing in one area. So I'm going to take this one off. And it's kind of a big step forward, but I think it's necessary. So here I go. It's gone. Let's see if it looks better. It does look better. It opens the tree up a bit more. I like the growth in the top here. I think it's looking nice, balanced. It's a little vigorous. At the apex here, I'm getting sort of two apex, two leaders. This one's getting too strong and vertical. It should be more of a horizontal branch, so I'm going to remove the upper growth on it. Like that. That makes the apex stand out a little more. There's a branch here that has some upwards growth I'm going to remove. There's some upwards growth here I can take off. It's kind of coming out straight towards the viewer, like that. Prune this back. Prune this one back, like that. That flattens the branch out a bit more. This branch is a little ugly, but maybe there's not much I can do about it. I can take this dead bit off here, like that. Just rotating the tree around. Now on this branch it goes upwards here, and then I have a shoot down below that goes more horizontal, so I can take off this upwards growth here. I'll reduce it back. I won't take it totally off because I want to keep the branch strong. So that comes off, and the growth on the inside can come off like that, and this little tuft here can come back like that. I've got kind of a double branch growing from this one spot, so I can take this part off. And maybe a little more like that. Some downwards growth I've got to prune back. I'm trying to give space between my branches. These two branches are touching here. And on this branch, this isn't the radial direction, so I'm going to prune that off. So now my branches have more room around them. On this branch, I've got some inward growth here that's not looking good. I'll prune that back, and I think all this other growth here has to come off. Cleaning that area out. That's looking better. Up here, it's getting very thick in this area. There's a stub here I can take out. There's some growth down below I can clean out. Some dead branches from prior prunings. That helps. There's some growth in here I need to take out too. It's going right above the branch below it. Like that. Some vertical growth here I can remove. Shorten this tip here. And maybe this branch needs more shortening. It's getting very vigorous. I need to take out this part of it. Like that. And I'll prune off this part. Again, you know, pruning heavier in the apex and less as you go down the tree. That branch is still too vigorous. Take it back to there. This one is getting vigorous too. I need to prune off this part. And I need to clean up this one a bit. If I can get in here. There. There's a branch growing in here I can clean out. Being careful not to cut the branches I want to keep. There. Let's go back to the front. Oh, there's a growth in here I can clean out. Let's go back to the front here. See what's going on. Well, this branch is very strong here. And I think this branch, it comes out and it gets very vigorous. I've got to prune this part back to there. taking a bit of vigor out of that branch. This one too is too strong. I'll take out this part of it. And this top part here. Like that, that looks better. This one has a vertical part here that I gotta clean up a bit more. And here. Like that. Flattening the branches out a bit. There's a bit sticking up here I can take off. Like that. And there's some dead branches here I can clean out if I can get to them. That's better. Now on this branch on the underside here, there's something hanging down I've got to remove. There's a branch there. No, it's hanging down there. I think this branch is still too vigorous looking. I need to prune off something off the top here. That's better. There's a bit of growth on the inside here I can remove. Like that, opening it up again a bit more. This shoot can come off here. There's a stub I can remove here. I can remove part of this branch. There. And I think the upper part of this one can come off. Now I've got a spider web in here. I've got two branches here growing from the same spot. I think it's two branches. It may all be part of the same branch. It is. I think I better remove this middle part here. Like that. I'm not sure about this one from the front. I'll leave it for now. I think it's okay. This one kind of crosses the trunk line. I think I need to prune it. It's okay to have something coming out front at this height of the tree. I've done a little thinning in the apex here, just so you can get a bit of definition there. I think that looks better. Let's step back and have a look at the tree now. Here is a look at the tree. I think it's improved. You can see a bit more branch definition. It's a little more of a conical shape. It's balanced better, you know, taking vigor out of the top of the tree and trying to encourage these lower branches to grow stronger. The pot's cleaned up. A bit ugly, the root base, but I think, you know, with some carefully placed stones in that, it'll look just fine. So that is my Dwarf Hinoki Cypress pruned up, and I'll just try and keep improving it into the future. The next tree I'll work on is this Arizona Cypress. This is a seedling I got from Derek. This tree has a lot of roots growing out the bottom of the pot, so I'm going to prune those away first. like that. Next, I'm going to clean away the moss from the base of the tree. You can see it's growing really, really thick. I had some stones placed at the base to kind of create a penging landscape. I think that'll do. I'll just give that a spray with water to clean the pot up. Like that. I'm going to add some sand to the base of the tree. The moss kind of pulled away a bit of the surface layer, just to build it up a bit more. Make sure those roots are nicely covered up. That looks good. And I'll place my other stone back in the planting. Maybe back here. I'll just clean away that sand now, or settle it in. I've got my landscape fixed up, so now it's time to prune the top of the tree. So you can see how much vigor is in the apex here versus down below. There is some growth down below, but it's very weak. So I need to prune the top back, and I'll have to prune it fairly hard, trying to leave some of the new needles if possible. So I'll prune right here. Like that. There's one coming out the front here. I can prune back to here. This one I will prune back to here. This one to here, maintaining that conical form. There's a vertical one here I can prune back. And out the back, there's a strong shoot here. This tree's very stringy. I just sharpened my scissors, and I think this tree is just very stringy. And then up top here, I've got a shoot there. I'll keep pruning off the tip here. And this one can be pruned back. That's got the conical form reestablished. It's a little thick up top. That may get thinned more. But the next thing I want to do is try and get some space between the branches. You can see it just looks like a mop here. There's no separation. So that'll mean I'll have to remove some of the branches to open up some areas of the tree. So I'm just looking at the tree from the front and trying to look at the branches. Now these grow in whorls, so you know you've got many branches coming from a common point on the trunk. So I can do some thinning by reducing the whorls. So on this part here, I've got one coming out the front and one to the side. I've got to pick which one I want to keep. And I think this side of the tree is thinner, so I'm going to remove the shoot on this side. So here I go. And this is the first time I've done any branch selection on this tree. There goes that branch out of there. It opens up a bit of space. There's a branch here I think can be removed. So I'll take this one off. Like that. Up here again I've got two opposing branches. And in this case, I'm going to remove this one, I think. Maybe not. I'm wondering maybe this one. Yeah, this one I'm going to remove. It opens up some space to this lower branch. It's always tough shoot selection. Now, this one I have sort of a cascading branch here, so I would like to prune off this part of this branch. So I'll take the tip off like that. I think this branch has to come off here. So there's what it's looking like. It's better. It looks a little more tree-like rather than a bush. There's one coming straight out the front here, and I've got one beside it, so I'm going to take this one that's coming straight out the front off. So I think I'm happy with the lower part of the tree. It's thinned a lot, and yet it doesn't look so sparse that it's, it doesn't look miniature. It still looks like a nice Arizona Cypress, but you can see the top is just thick with foliage. Way too vigorous in this top section, so that needs to be thinned. So there's a kind of a branch growing on a strange angle here I can remove. There's a branch here, double branches going from one spot I can remove. If I can get in there, it's there. I think this branch can be removed. I think there's just too many branches growing in the apex here. This one needs to be shortened, as does this one. This one can be removed. Like that, and maybe I could take out this one. It's even tough to see where they come off the trunk line. You have to be careful cutting, that you don't cut off all the surrounding branches around the area you're cutting. Okay, that's looking better. I think this one could be taken out. Maybe this one too. Reduce this one back. It's looking better. Still a little cluttered. Maybe it's cluttered around the back and I need to thin that out. I can take this one out. This one's going a bit of a strange direction. I'll shorten it to that side shoot. Like that. Try and get rid of that old needle there. Oh, that doesn't want to come off. Around here, this branch can come out. And this one's growing a strange direction. I'll get that one out. Boy, oh boy, this is fine work. I mean fine as in precision, careful work. Get off of there. Okay, from the front it's looking much better. Better take this one back a bit more. And what's going on in the apex? I cut it back to this shoot, but I have a better one behind. I'm going to take that off. Like that. I've got two shoots here which are better. I've got a crossing branch in here I can remove. Just a little stub of a one. I think that's going to be it. Let's stand back and look at the tree. Here is a look at the Arizona Cypress now. So it's, about a hand high. I think it's looking good. So I'll continue to try and improve it in the future as it grows, trying to improve the branch structure, but keeping it small and miniature. Next, I'm going to work on this jade. It's a little bit bigger of a tree, a little easier to prune. I'm going to start by pruning off the roots sticking out the bottom of the pot so it sits flat once again. Like that. All right, let's have a look at this jade now. I'm not sure where the front of the tree was intended to be. The first thing I better look at is I noticed some white stuff at the base of the tree, and I'm hoping it's not mealybugs. Let's have a look. Let's get a close-up look at that. So there's a look at that area, and it's definitely some insects. There's like blisters of something on there. Yeah, definitely mealybugs. Oh dear, I do not like mealybugs. Okay, so I'm going to have to pick all those mealybugs off individually, squishing them. Then I'll remove the moss from the base of the tree. I'll spray the soil, the tree with soap and water, and hopefully that'll get rid of them. And I'll keep my eyes on this tree. Alright, I've removed all the visible mealybugs off of the tree. So my next step, I'm going to remove the moss, and I'm going to soak the soil, the pot, and the tree in soapy water. Okay, so off comes the layer of moss. Just in case there's any bugs hiding in the moss. Okay, so that is removed all the moss, so let's clean up and spray with soap and water. And all this moss will go outside in the compost. All right, here I go with the soap and water. Make sure I spray the pot down too. Okay, that should do it. I'll let that soak for a bit, and then I'll rinse the tree off. I'm going to leave the soap and water on the tree while I prune it. Now, the intended style for this tree was like a dragon tree or a quiver tree, so sort of a umbrella-shaped canopy on it. I had a branch here. It was brittle. It just broke off. So I hope, with the removal of the mealybugs, it'll gain vigor and regrow some branches. and I think the top pruning will help. So I'm going to prune it back. I'll prune this one back to here, shortening it quite a bit to there. This one, I've got a leaf facing frontwards, which is nice. It'll fan out. I have a node a little higher that's lost its leaves. I think I will go quite low, so back to that kind of weak looking leaf there. This branch I can prune. It's kind of growing up into the canopy here, so I don't really want to prune it. I think I'll just leave that one be. The one out the back coming off of that same branch, it's a little tall, so I will prune it back to here, taking the top off. And then I've got some strong upright ones here. I'll prune it to here. And this one back to here. Kind of creating a rounded canopy. I think that'll do for the tree. These branches are a little straight. I might be better to prune them back shorter and then kind of grow them slowly up into the canopy, so I don't get straight sections on the tree. So up to there, and then it'll get subdividing and eventually grow up into the canopy. So I'll get rid of these clippings, again, just in case they have mealybugs on them. I'll respray the tree, and that will be it. So some more soap and water. And I'll leave that sit for a bit, and before it goes inside, I'll rinse it thoroughly. I'm going to work on my little lantana next. It's supposed to be a cascading tree. Hopefully in the future it will be. I'm going to start by pruning off all the roots that have grown out the bottom of the pot. All right, here I go, removing all this root mass from the bottom, which has probably clogged up the drainage hole. Good thing I sharpened these scissors. I'm cutting through sand and making them dull again. Oh my goodness. But I can just touch them up again with the stone. Okay, so there's the drainage hole. I've got to make sure it's clear. Otherwise the tree has no drainage. Now the clay pot does absorb water, and it will help dry the soil out. Okay, let me just clean that bottom of the pot up. Okay, and I want to check that there is drainage here. No, there isn't. I can't really get anything up through the bottom of the pot. I don't know if the tree will pop out of the pot if I push hard here. No, I just poked a hole. So that'll help with the drainage, getting a hole up through there. So I think that'll be okay. Here is a look at my little lantana. Now lantanas do like a cool winter, so I'll be keeping this in the basement above freezing, but it'll have a cool winter. I'm going to do some leaf pruning just to see what's going on with the structure of the tree. So I'm going to start with this bottom branch here. I'll remove some of these leaves that are growing near the base of the branch, so I can see what's going on. There's a few shoots growing underneath this branch I'm going to remove. They're new little branches. And my goal is to expose the structure of the tree. So I can see what's going on. So that branch is looking good. I'll leave that leaf on. There's some leaves in here I can remove. Again, when you get a tree that's this crowded with leaves and that, it's hard to inspect it for insects, and it's a good place for them to hide. So it's a good idea to clean your trees out by removing some leaves. It helps with the health of the tree too, to get air circulation around the branches, to get some light in there. So I'm not seeing any insect problems so far, which is good. I'm just cleaning out some old dead leaves that have died and just clogging up the structure here. So there's a new shoot here I can take off. One here. Like that. Okay, so this is my cascade branch. It's supposed to be. I'll take off this branch on the inside here. Like that. This is my cascade leader, so I will prune this upright branch back like that. I won't prune the cascading branch. There's one growing kind of a weird direction here. I'll remove that one. Like that. Now I have opposite branches here. There's a new little shoot here I'll take out. Just keeping that one branch in this area. So you can see, what will eventually be the cascade branch if all goes well. There's a new shoot here I can take out. There's a leaf I can take out here to kind of see what's going on here. Clean up some dead branches and leaves there. Now I've got two branches here, the cascade branch and then the apex. And at the base I have a new shoot here I'm going to remove. There's one on the inside here I can take out. Cleaning up that trunk line. Some more dead leaves up here. Okay, so I'm not sure if this was the front of the tree. If this is the front of the tree, I've got this branch poking out at you, so I think this would have to be the front over here. So again, I'm going to clean out some growth in here. Clean that out from the inside of the curve. I've got an upright shoot here I'm going to remove. Putting all my strength in this cascading branch. And then the apex I want to keep quite tiny, so the vigor goes into the cascade branch and not up into the top of the tree. So I can reduce this shoot back. I can reduce this one back to here. Always looking at my leaf direction, planning where I want my new branches to come in. This one can be taken back to here. There's one growing from here, the inside of a curve I can take out. big old leaf here. Get rid of that. And I'm just looking at the structure up in the apex here. I'll take out this one on the inside here. Removing some leaves here. Trying to. Come on. Where's that leaf come from? It comes from here. There. I got it. A lot of debris in there. Okay. There's one growing underneath I'm going to take out. Like that. I'm going to remove this one. Too many branches growing from one spot. Take this stub off here. And I think that's pretty well got the pruning done. There's a leaf here I want to remove. Yeah, I think that's looking good. I'll just clean up this stub here. Like that. Yeah, I think that's good. I'm going to remove this one vertical leaf here just to get some more light down to this part of the tree. Trying to get some more debris out here that's hanging down. Okay, so that's got the lantana pruned up. So this will be my future cascading branch. There's just a bit of white on here that I'm trying to figure out what that is. I don't think it's anything. But I will spray the tree just to make sure there's no insects on it. I don't see any, but it never hurts. Okay, so that's got that pruned up. All right, I'll give it a spray with soap and water. Do the moss too, in case there's any bugs living in there. A little weed here I can pull out. And that should do it. I'll just let that sit a bit and then rinse it down. All right, it's time to rinse the lantana. So here I go. Okay, so that is ready to go inside for the winter. The next tree I'll be working on is this little Thuja seedling. So this has grown from a seed and it's 1 year old. So it'll be going into its second growing season. So I need to prune it up. You can see it's gaining vigor. It's getting the adult foliage. When they first start out, they get this little spiky foliage like a juniper, and then it turns into this mature kind of scale foliage. Again, I'm going to start by cleaning up the base of the tree, removing this moss. I put a few little seeds in here. You can see there's what a seed looks like. And I think this is a little seedling growing up here. So I'll try and preserve that little seedling. Oh, there's another seed there. Here. So I'll try and keep that little seedling growing there. Hopefully I don't pull it out with the moss, but you never know. If I do, I do. There's an aerial root coming out of the tree. Oh, there's a stone in here. I never knew there was a stone in here. I think that stone I put in there the seating was kind of flopped over, and I put it in there just to support the tree, so it was growing more upright. There. So I don't think I need this stone anymore. I'll take that away. So there it is. There's my little seedling. I'll remove the moss from the trunk here. That moss sure was growing up high. Okay. All right, let's clean up and then I'll start working on the tree. I'll prune the roots that are growing out the bottom of the pot. That should be good, and I'll just clean the pot up with some water or water. Okay. I'm going to prune the tree up now. So it has some branching. It has one here that I pruned off once. It has one out the left side I've pruned once and one out the back. It's got a leader taking off here. So again, I want to keep this a small tree. I don't want it growing into a large tree. So I need to prune this leader back. And I think back to this branch here will be my new leader. So here I go. Taking the top off. I'll prune this one back to the first set of fronds, like that. And then I've got to pinch these fronds to make them compact. Pinching the tips off. I probably could go back further on those, and I think I will. It is at the apex. And I want to keep it compact, and the tree is most vigorous at its apex. So I've reduced that back quite severely, actually. So now I'm going to tackle this branch out to the left. You can see it's been pruned, and then it's got some new shoots which are really long. So I'm going to prune them back. Just shortening everything. Keeping some green on them. There's a few needles here I can clean out. Some growth back here. Let's just prune this tip off here. Where is that coming from? That's above. Like that. Now I have a new shoot here. I could remove this whole branch and develop a new branch from this shoot here. Unfortunately, it's kind of growing out the front of the tree. So I'm going to leave it for now. So the branch on the right, again, it has a new shoot down below. So on this one, I will prune off the old branch. So I'm going to take it off here. Keeping that new little shoot and this shoot here, which is also a fairly new shoot. Now it has some adult foliage here that I can just pinch. Pinch the tips. And then there's the branch out the back, which has a vertical section to it that I'll remove. Like that. And another vertical section here I can remove. And then I'll prune back these ones, making them a little more compact. Really taking the tree back. And I think that's about all I could do. I do have 2 fronds here, and I think I'm going to remove this front one. Like that. It opens up the space a bit more if I want to grow this one. Yeah, and that's about it. This little seedling surviving down here. I could prune these roots back that were growing up into the moss, and I will. No point having aerial roots on a cedar or a Thuja. Like that. And then I'll just top dress the soil with some fresh sand. So here I go. Okay, and I'll just give that a watering. Like that, and that little seedling should straighten up and grow. Here is a look at my little cedar. Its progress after the first year of growing. I think it's doing really well. It's ready for year number 2. As I finish working on each tree, I'm putting it back in its bed of sand. The next trees I'll be working on is my Portulacaria afra forest, the Lilliput variety, which has the little tiny leaves. I already prepared this for the fall show as a accent plant, so there's not much work to do on it. There's some roots growing out the bottom of the pot I want to trim off, and I want to inspect it to make sure there's no mealybugs on it. Here is a look at the forest. So I'll just turn it over, prune away those roots underneath. That's good. And then I'll inspect the trees. So I'm having a careful look. I haven't seen anything so far. I'm just sort of scraping at anything that's could be a mealybug or anything. I don't think that is. It's just a speck of dust. That's just a bump on the trunk. So it's looking good. The leaves are a little wrinkly. I don't think I've watered this enough. And I could take a second look at the pruning of the trees. I think this was the front of the forest here. It's kind of square on top. It maybe needs a little bit of shaping. Let's see what I can do with it. So I've got kind of a square forest in a square pot. So I think I need to round the canopy more. So I'm going to look and see what I can do to shape it. So here's the side view here. You can see how flat it is on top. So let's have a look and do some reduction on some of the trees on the outer edges, giving the forest a bit better a shape. I was about to prune up this forest and I filled the card on the camera, so I'm resuming now, even though it's much later. And I'm thinking of taking this outer one down to this lowest branch. That'll give some room for these upper, higher trees to grow and this one to kind of fan out. So here's a big cut coming up. I'll prune it off. I'll leave a bit of a stub. Here I go, taking that out. I'm thinking of doing the same for this one out front here. It's a bit drastic, but I think it needs to be done. So I'll prune this one off here, like that. You can see that's helping to round the shape of the overall forest now. It's looking better. I think this branch out the back here needs to be shortened. Like that. Just looking now. I think this one growing to the inside can be removed. Creating a bit of space here. And this one at the back can be pruned back to one that's fanning outwards. And maybe even this one can come back. Like that. Creating a lot of space in that forest now. I'm going to prune this one off shorter. And I think I can remove this lowest branch in here also. Kind of really opening that forest up. Yeah, I think that looks much better. It's pretty sparse right now, but again, it'll fill in and look quite nice in the future. So there's a look at my mini bonsai forest pruned up. It's got a bit of shape to it now. I just have to grow it in, fill it out once again. So the day today has turned from sunshine in the morning to rain in the afternoon. And it's getting quite dark out now. All the trees outside are getting watered, which is good. It's still above freezing. I still have a selection of mini bonsais to prune up and clean up, so I will continue that in part 3 of this series. So that is all for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.